Okay, so then I had a couple of things I wanted to jump on my soapbox on.
Okay.
Number one, so we talked about this, I think, either the last episode or episode before. Nick Saban got out there and shot his mouth off and complained. He said, well, Texas A&M bought all their players. They bought all their players, and, this is really difficult for everybody, and, blah, blah, blah. So then, of course, he gets called out by Jimbo Fisher of Texas A&M. He gets called out by the media. And then what I liked is one of the reporters in Alabama actually had some guts and actually asked Saban a tough question, made him clarify a tough question. And basically, so Saban this last week was talking to the media there and said, well, I never said they did anything wrong. Like, I never said that. I never said they did anything wrong or illegal. I just, and I probably shouldn't have called them out individually, whatever. And then one of the reporters said, well, yeah, you did. You said they paid everybody. It's like, what do you mean? You said they paid everybody. Well, I mean, I never said they did anything wrong, and but I don't want to spend all kinds of time on that. I want to move past that, and blah blah blah. He did the duck and cover, which
classic politician control freak move. Like, no, I'm not really going to answer that. I'm not going to discuss what you want to discuss. I'm going to discuss what I want to discuss and frame the discussion that the way that I want.
Yeah, and I'm not going to own what I did or what I said and how I should. The only solution there was to basically say, listen, yeah, I shouldn't have called them out individually. I don't know what's going on over there, what they're doing, what they're not doing, so I'm not going to comment on that, and I shouldn't have said that. That's what he should have said.
Yeah.
But instead he tries to kind of backtrack, not really apologize, and it's like, no, man. What you did was wrong. I don't care if Texas A&M could be cheating like nobody's ever cheated before. It's not cool. Like, what you did is inappropriate. It's beyond you. You should be better than that. Don't complain. And suddenly, Colin Cowherd made a great point on this. Suddenly, Nick Saban cares about things being fair. Like,
yeah,
get the hell out of here. You've been getting the best of it for, 15 years now. Shut the hell up. So, yeah, it really bothered me that he tried to apologize, but not really, and then tried to act like, well, I didn't say they did anything wrong, when he directly said they did something wrong. He went right after them. They paid all their players. They did this, they did that, whatever. And, I was thinking about this earlier today, though. I guess this kind of answers the question for me. I was thinking, is one of these colleges, because it's really kind of a pain in the ass, because in order for the colleges to deal with this, they have to go through boosters and they have to go through people to pay the players. The colleges can't give money to the players directly. Wouldn't it just be easier if the colleges just started paying the players? Now, I realize that, well, maybe they can't, right? Maybe it's illegal at this point for the colleges to pay the players because they'd have to be employees and all of that stuff, right? So maybe they can't, maybe they literally can't because of the way the laws are structured. But it seems to me like if I'm some middle class program, isn't somebody just going to come out and go, all right, we're going to give all our players $2,000. You know what I mean? I just feel like, because it seems to me it would be a lot easier than dealing with all of this nonsense. So I just wonder, is somebody going to just buck the system and just go, screw it. We got a little bit extra money. We'll give them, whatever.
Maybe. I mean, what I would say is that, I think at the top of Division I is kind of, with football and men's basketball, is just a totally different from the bottom of Division I, the other divisions.
Right.
And, for instance, in Division II and Division III, I don't think they should pay the players because they legitimately can't.
Right.
But in the upper echelon thing, what you're talking about, middle tier, I don't, one of the things I will say, I don't have a problem with them making money off name, image, and likeness, but it seems like I hear about all this money being floated around, and I'm like, well, these businesses don't have, an endless pool of money here.
Right.
So I feel like there's promises, some of what the coaches are saying, there are promises that are being made that probably aren't going to be fulfilled. I kind of think that there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
I would. I mean, if they could do it maybe in a way that's some sort of benefit that's attached to their scholarship or something.
Is that how they would have to do it?
I don't know. I'm just thinking like something that would be like within NCAA rules and would like attach to the scholarship and then would prevent it from being taxed. Like Doug Gottlieb always talks about that.
Right.
Like, you know, if they're going to get paid, then the scholarship becomes taxable, and then they got to pay taxes and whatever. Which you can figure that out. I mean, you know,
right.
But yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily want like all the athletes to be paid, but I think the ones at the top that are, you know, responsible for generating so much freaking money, you know, I think they should get some sort of compensation for, you know, the risks that they're taking to that they can't end up playing professionally or whatever.
Yeah. So I don't know. I just kind of wonder about that because this seems like a lot of backroom. It seems like a lot of work for these players to get money that, you know, and I realize, okay, it's not the college giving them the money, so it's different. But, you know, I just feel like it just seems to me like it would be a lot easier. It's like, I guess the coach of Ohio State came out and basically said, we've got to raise $13 million, you know, if we're going to keep all of these players that, you know. Now, listen, that's Ohio State. They're trying to get the best players. That's, to me, the top programs are that's a different argument. Most players are not making a whole bunch of money. They're probably making some. You know, they're probably getting a nice, you know, deal. But most players are not making all kinds of money. So I think that's number one. The percentage of, you know, players that this really affects is just not – I don't think it's that big. Those guys – now those guys
I feel like we get kind of lost with that, and we just forget – like everyone thinks about college athletics as the big stuff that we see on TV, but there are – I don't know what the number is. There's thousands of athletes across the country where they're literally they play the sport, but they're going to college. They're trying to get a degree and get out and get a job. So
and so that's why I think the NIL thing in general is great because all of these athletes who probably aren't they're not going to make that much money anyway, but they all have an outlet now. You know, where they can do something. And that was one of for maybe the last 10 years, that was my major criticism of the NCAA was just let these guys make money. Just, you know, even if the college can't give it to them, let them make money. Let them make money on their own. And so that's kind of how I look at this. I don't even think, like, honestly, I don't even think the schools, you know, the NCAA or the school should even be involved at all. Like, I think if these players should just do whatever they got to do to make money and just get out of the way. Don't even worry about that. You know?
Yeah.
So,
well, and I will say this. At first, I was criticizing Colin Cowherd about this, but actually now I kind of think I agree with him. Not that this would necessarily change anything because, you know that there'll still be people trying to entice athletes to go to one school over another. But if you wanted to say that you can't make NIL money until you actually play at the school, I'm actually okay with that. I think that makes sense because you should be making money based off what you've done. You know.
Well, I mean,
but I don't know.
But if you're signing a contract, like that's the thing. These things are
all right. Okay, that's fair.
It's an actual deal. You're signing. Let's say some car dealerships, like, hey man, I'll give you, you know, whatever. You know, so that I think when the backroom deals and the side deals are getting done, that's where that comes into play. You know, if you have a legit NIL deal, then I don't really think it needs to be contingent on anything. You know what I mean? Because they've agreed, like if it's written down that they've agreed to, you know, I get that. Now there may be all kinds of other shady stuff going on. Who God only knows. And, you know, and I thought, going back to Colin Cowherd, he said something kind of interesting. Well, what players are going to get, you know, they're going to go to a place for the money and they might get taken advantage of. And it's like, yeah, that's what happens in life. You know, professional athletes.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Professional athletes do stupid things all the time with their money. So, you know, it's going to happen, you know. So, yeah, but I don't think there's I have no problem with putting limits on, you know, all right, you can only do this during this part of the season, you know.
Yeah. I kind
no
of,
new,
yeah. And
no
then, like,
new
the transfer
NIL
portal
deals.
stuff. Like, I think maybe limit that to a certain portion of the season. Like, okay. You know,
yeah, I don't have a problem with
it. But again, I'll say this: the NCAA, you fucked this up because you could have dealt with this before. You could have cut this off before it came to a head, you know, and just had more control over it. But you didn't, so, you know.
Yeah.